Oops. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the replay if you're watching the replay. So, I want to just tell you a little scenario and see if you can just think about what your reaction would be. So, you go to your doctor, you've been having all kinds of um, you know, digestive issues and whatnot. And you go to the doctor and you find a really nice one. And finally, you found one that you think really can get the situation under control. And they say to you, okay, we figured out what it is, and you have to change your diet. You have to cut out all gluten, eggs, sugar, and dairy. Go. How do you feel? All right. Well, I imagine that's a bit of a shock, right? I'm going to talk today about how you can actually make that change and make it much easier on yourself. So, hi, everybody. I'm Ricki Heller from rickiheller.com, and I help women on restricted diets learn to love their food again so that they can eat delicious food, embrace the new diet, lose their symptoms, allow their bodies to heal, and live a fabulous life. All those things. So, happy Friday, everybody. I wanted to hop on today and tell you a little story. And this relates to this whole concept of change and how, I mean, it feels overwhelming, right? If somebody tells you that, I've had so many clients come to me and say, I have to change everything. I don't know how I can do it. It's impossible. And what happens is your brain just goes into overwhelm and then nothing happens. You don't change anything, right? So here's a little story that I think illustrates it really does illustrate how our brain works to effect change and what is the best way to move towards the changes you want to make in your life. So many years ago, when we were actually in university, yeah, just early years, like undergrad, one of my dear friends in Montreal, her family, her dad got a job in Toronto. So this is like 350 miles, 600 kilometers away. And the whole family was going to move to this new city. So what ended up happening was he took a year to create this move. And her dad went to the new city, and 5 days a week he worked at his job. And every weekend he drove the 350 miles, 600 kilometers back to Montreal, spent the weekend with his family. On Monday, he went back, and this for a year before the family moved there. Why did they wait so long? Well, his wife, my friend's mom, was very anxious kind of person, and she really didn't like changes in her life, and she was freaked out about the fact they were going to a whole new city. She didn't know anybody. What was she going to do? So while he was there, he spent his weekdays working, and he spent the evenings looking for a house to buy. He lived in this little apartment during that year. He looked for a house to buy that was as close as possible to the layout of their current house that they were leaving. And then he searched high and low. He found painters who came in and painted the walls in the living room, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, all the same colors as they were in their other house. They found the exact same wallpaper, and he wallpapered the kitchen and the bathroom and all those other rooms, the exact same wallpaper, found the same rugs, and they bought the same towels, the same sheets, everything. So that a year later, when his wife and 3 kids moved to Toronto, they moved into a house that was fully furnished and basically looked like the house they had left. And so when his wife moved in, there was this sort of seamless transition because everything already felt familiar. So the fact that she had to adjust to a new neighborhood and a new place to shop, and the kids had new schools and all that stuff, that was kind of mitigated by this fact that they had a house that was already put together and was very much like the one they had left. Now, I'm not saying that you should do that. I mean, this this is a little even back then, we thought, "Oh my goodness, this is a little crazy." But I will say the anxiety of my friend's mom was at a minimum over this. And here's why. Because our brains are built for sameness. Our brain likes a life where nothing changes. And so your brain is built to keep you safe and comfortable and fed and all those things. And when something changes in your environment to your brain, that indicates a threat. Something's off, something's not right. So it's kind of like when my dog Zoe barks at every light that drives by outside, right? Because the equilibrium in the house is set off somehow. And so any kind of change can feel scary and can feel like a bad thing, even if it's actually a good thing. So, how can you transfer this concept to your diet? Well, what I said before was, let's say, and it could be whatever it is for you, no nuts, no oxalates, no FODMAP, a low FODMAP diet, whatever it is. If you think of that in terms of, oh my goodness, look at all these many different things I have to change, that's going to be overload for your amygdala, which is your center of your brain that tries to keep you safe. And it's going to say, no, forget it, not doing any of it, right? But if we make everything else pretty much the same and we introduce the changes really gradually and in very small increments, then that doesn't flip the alarm, right? It doesn't trigger the alarm. And so we are able to incorporate that into our life much more easily. And we can make those changes without too much trouble. So, in terms of diet, rather than say, I have to cut out all sugar, I have to cut out all dairy, I have to cut out all nuts, I have to cut out all eggs, I have to, whatever it is, maybe think of it in terms of smaller changes. Just pick one thing, pick one very small thing that you're going to change without disrupting anything else in your life. And then keep doing that until that one feels comfortable and familiar. And then you're going to be ready to incorporate another change after that. And this is really the principle of a lot of successful campaigns and changes in people's lives. When I think of my clients who've been successful at making these changes, they've done it by doing it in small baby steps. There's something that, and there used to be like a special day on Instagram for this and on Facebook called Meatless Monday. So a lot of people take part now in Meatless Mondays. And whoever came up with that idea, and this I think was originally introduced by like a vegetarian association or a vegan association or something, and the idea was to try to get more people on board around eating more vegetables and less meat. So instead of saying, we want you to cut out all meat from your life, which is patently ridiculous to a lot of people, because in our society, I mean, most people eat meat like at every meal, right? So to say, cut it out, forget it. Nobody's going to do that. But if you say Meatless Mondays, which was just dinner on Monday, it wasn't even the whole Monday. So just have a meatless dinner once a week. Well, if you think about it that way, you have 21 meals in your week. If one of them is doesn't have meat and you still have 20 other meals that are the same as you always have them, that doesn't feel like such a big sacrifice. It doesn't feel like such a big deal. And so it's so much easier to incorporate that change into your life. And what ends up inevitably happening is people start eating these meals and they like them and they go, oh, well, let's do a meatless Monday and a meatless Wednesday. And then maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. And they're able to reduce the amount of meat. They lower the amount of saturated fat in their diets. They decrease their food budget, all these good effects by incorporating more veggies in their life. So, and all the antioxidants and all that stuff, of course. So, but the point is, it's done in a it's almost like a sneaky way, right? Because you're just sneaking in one teeny tiny change. So, what I'd love you to think about is, what is one really small change you can make around your diet? I have no doubt that all of us have something that we'd like to change in the way we eat to try to be healthier or incorporate more foods that are good for our specific symptoms, whatever it might be for you. Think about what is one tiny, teeny change, so small that you almost wouldn't notice it, that you can incorporate. And then once that becomes like second nature, then you can move on to the other ones. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that gives you some food for thought for the weekend. And I wanted to also say that if you're looking for more support around how to make these changes permanent, I am going to be doing another free workshop starting next month. And it's called Stick With It this summer. So we're going to be doing more of this kind of thing where we talk about what are some of the tactics and strategies you can use to ensure that your dietary changes really do stick. And especially during the summer when there's all the parties and the barbecues and the ice cream and all that stuff. So if you're thinking about that and you want to make those changes stick, I hope you'll sign up. You can get on the wait list right now because registration starts May 1st, which isn't that far away. But if you want to be on the list to find out when registration opens up for the workshop itself, just go to rickiheller.com/workshop list and you can sign up right there. All right, everybody, I hope you guys all have a great weekend. I hope it's beautiful where you are, a little cloudy over here, and I will see you next week.